Now, the only way you can see this lighthouse, though, is there's one road to get to where you can see it.
Okay.
And it's a road that you would never normally say, oh, let's just turn here and go down. Except one day we were out for a drive and I said, let's just turn.
Yeah, you found it.
Down this random laneway and see where it goes.
That's awesome.
I do that sometimes, right? I just want to see where something goes.
It happens.
And it says dead end on it, right? So I'm like, where does this go? So we drove down this very small, what I would consider more of a laneway, because you can barely pass two cars on it. And there's a very tiny cottage community on the shoreline, except the shoreline here is 100 feet up. So like in England, like Broadstairs, right, where you need like 300 stairs to go down to the beach.
Yes.
It's pretty much the same thing here.
Oh, I hate those things.
At Mohawk Bay. There are no stairs. You cannot go down to the beach unless you want to climb down the hill, which is really eroded away. I went almost down onto the beach one day. I literally braved climbing down the side of this cliff down to the bottom. And it had rained really badly and there was a bad storm. So a lot of the bottom part had washed away. So I was like, if I go down, I'm not going to get back up. And there's literally nowhere to go when you get down there. The turkey vultures are right there. They perch on the edge of the cliff and then just soar off and fly around this lighthouse. It's a really, really cool spot. So we go out and we stand on the cliff and you can see the lighthouse out there. And it's great on a,
But it's beautiful.
Right. And so it's this really cool old lighthouse. Now, is it haunted? Well, I don't know. I mean, I just think because of the way it looks, and it's got such a really neat old history. It is one of, again, the first working lighthouses.
Oh, great.
On the lake. So 1838, it was built, and it was manned until 1933 when they automated it.
That's quite a long time.
So for almost 100 years, there was a lighthouse keeper living out there in the lake on this. It's a tiny little, it's literally the lighthouse. And if the water rises, it comes right up to the base of the building that you would have lived in. So the island is completely submerged in water. It's a big chunk of rock. So it sits on this big chunk of rock.
Oh, wow.
So over the years, there's been a lot of shipwrecks right nearby it. Again. And so it has to, I mean, I'm hoping one day to catch someone who will give me a boat ride to this location, because I want to walk on this island. I want to get out of the boat and I want to step foot on this and check out the lighthouse. Really, I'm like fading in and out. I'm getting blurry. I'm like, woo! See, I start talking about ghosts and then weird stuff. It's like the ghost in the machine starts happening at my house. I don't see it happening at your house.
How many times did that happen to us on Blog Talk when we were doing the podcast?
Way too many times.
And then we thought we heard a voice. Yes.
So this lighthouse, I'm not going to purportedly say that it's haunted, but it's one of those things where I feel like I'm so drawn to it.
Yes.
Of all the lighthouses that I've seen in my life, and there's been many. Yes. This one, I think it just because it's right now it's unattainable to me. I can't get there. So I want to get there, but it has a real eerie feeling to it. So I'm hoping to step foot there and be able to check it out and see, because I feel like if you've had people there for 100 years,
there's got to be something
in such a desolate spot. You can't get to it, and you would have had to at that time row out in a dory to get there, right? So you would have had to, from the shore, row out. You would have had to put that boat, and that would have been your back and forth. You would have had to somehow go back and forth to shore for food and water and all of those things. I mean, I suppose in 1838 you could have just took your water right out of the lake.
Right.
Freshwater lake, you probably could have just taken it out and drank it from there. But as we get into the 1930s, and then they automate it. So the other one that I want to talk about is Point Avenel. I have indeed been into Point Avenel Lighthouse.
Oh, you have?
I will say that there is definitely somebody there.
Is that the one near Crystal Beach?
How long ago were you there? How long ago was this when you went?
Like, not last year. The fall
okay.
before. So 2000 and what is year is this? 21. So 2019.
Oh wow. Okay.
They shut it down because of COVID. Right. So, and this year they say they may open in the summer, but it doesn't look too hopeful at this point. But again, it's a private gated community, so you cannot just go there. You can't.
Is that the lighthouse that's near Crystal Beach?
Point Abineau is, yeah, kind of. It's.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, it is in a gated community, and so you do have to go in there with the group that runs the lighthouse and looks after it and maintains it. You pay, you get on the shuttle, you go, they do a tour of the lighthouse. It's actually a really great spot. It's the cutest, prettiest, and it's the picture on Facebook. That is Point Abineau Lighthouse. That's my photograph when I was there.
I'll have to take a look.
It's the most adorable little lighthouse that you've ever seen. It's not a huge lighthouse, but the lighthouse keeper's house originally, that was a light boat. That's another really dangerous spot on the lake there. So there was a lot of shipwrecks happening. And on the American side, they were saying, we need some sort of light to help us so we're not crashing our ships when we're trying to get over to the Canadian side. So they essentially, the first thing they did was send a light boat. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen a light boat.
No. I've never heard of that, but that sounds pretty fascinating. And it somewhat makes sense. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this was around the same time that they built the Mohawk Bay Lighthouse, about 1830s. They sent this light boat. So think of a sort of 1830s wooden, probably about 35-foot boat with literally a light stuck on it.
Okay.
Nobody really mans.
That's a good idea, though. It sounds like if that's what they need to guide them in the ship.
Right. And so they just affixed the boat with an anchor and that to the area outside of the rocky shoals, and it would float there, bobbing around, much like a buoy, right? But it was lit up. Now it was a man-made. You had to light the light because it wasn't going to keep itself going. So they would go out every day and light the light. And then, it would burn out. And I'm sure that somebody would have had to stay there overnight with it, because if the light went out for any reason, somebody would have to relight that light. There's not too much information on this location, but ultimately what happened is that sunk. It was in a storm and it sunk. So they finally
did.
We need a lighthouse. So they built this adorable little lighthouse there at Point Abineau, and it really is so cute. So when you come to this lighthouse, you stop, and it's sort of on a very treed shoreline. And you walk through the trees, and you walk down the sand dunes and across the rocks and out to the lighthouse. But you can't always do that, because weirdly enough, when the lake level rises, the lighthouse is now on its own island. So the lighthouse keeper's house was built much later on. Originally, they were living in the lighthouse. They built a house which stands beside a beautiful arts and crafts style home that the lighthouse keeper would live in. He rigged a line, literally a pulley chair line, from the house to the island. He would get in the chair, pull himself across to the lighthouse.
Wow.
Because when it was cut off by the high water, that was the only way to get there. So that's
incredible.
Story, right? Now, when we were there and we went on the tour, we were so lucky. There was only like 4 people. It was like, we
just
the first tour of the day was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was a really chilly October day.
Oh, right.
Right. So like nobody really wanted to go out into the water and do this. So it was really good. There was like 4 of us, plus the tour guide.
Take the win.
So we went in and we got to walk around, and there's a museum on the main part now of the lighthouse. interesting thing is that this is the supposed, not this gentleman, because this old lighthouse keeper actually lives in my town. He's here. He moved from.
Oh my goodness!
And he moved to
small world.
So the previous, it's supposed to be, I believe, the lighthouse keeper that was there until 1960, before they changed hands. So he was there for some 15 or 20 years. And I was trying to look up his name and I couldn't find it anywhere for the life of me. Like, it was just like, where is his name? I know I wrote it down and I couldn't find it. But this is the gentleman that supposedly haunts the lighthouse. And he's definitely, there is somebody there. I mean, I could feel it, and I could feel a presence when I was there. And it was sort of interesting because...
You feel a male or a female presence?
Oh, male for sure.
Yeah.
No, not a female. No, definitely male, male presence. And especially in the area where I didn't know that there was an office there. There's a desk in there, but it's a museum now, right? So it's kind of set up in a sort of museum-like. And I didn't want to right away, you know, go...
Yeah. Just to sort of help yourself
in this space, right? Because, you know, some people just look at you and go, "Are you insane?" So I looked, and I looked at the guide, and I said to him, I go, "Is it haunted?" And he started to laugh.
Oh,
and he goes, and then he's telling me the story, and I went, "Oh, well, yes, because I can feel there's this gentleman, and he's in this room." And he goes, "Oh, this used to be his." This was his office. This is where he came and he kept the logs for the lighthouse and all this. And I'm like, yeah, it's definitely something here. So it was nice that the guide, the person who was doing that, was able to reiterate that. And this is a person who spends a lot of time at this location. So it's not like he's just a rando tour guide, right? He's actually one of the people that's part of the restoration. They restored the lighthouse. It's cost them a lot of money to restore, all privately funded, all restored. So it's just it's a little location. Like, it's a really fantastic spot. So maybe, you know, when COVID is all gone, I might be able to approach them and ask if we'd be able to go in and do an investigation. Like, even if it was just for a couple of hours.
That would be awesome. I'd love that.
But it's a great little spot.
I guarantee you'll get something. I just know it.
I got something just being there visiting.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's where it all starts. The minute you sort of sense that presence, and once you start getting the paranormal activity investigation started with the equipment, then it really sort of starts to heat up, I noticed. So.
And the cool thing about this site also is the fact that you can actually go up the stairs to the next level. Like, it was under restoration at the time, but he let us climb up the stairs and stick our head up to the next level where the next set of stairs goes up. And so we were able to sort of go up to the second floor in the lighthouse. I think it's about 4 stories. This one, it's quite little. Like, the Mohawk Bay was quite a tall lighthouse, right? That one was quite big. This one is it's a little more squat, but to me, it's just one of the cutest little lighthouses that I've ever seen. It's just adorable.